Are you an aspiring speaker ready to command the stage? I'm hosting my 6-week training created for the next generation of transformational speakers. That means you desire to confidently communicate the message that you've been called to share with the masses in a way that will move them to shift something in their lives immediately. If you're not scared to get in front of an audience, but your delivery hasn't made people clamor to get to you or work with you, then there's something missing. And I bet that we can pinpoint exactly what it is in this one-of-a-kind training. Doors are now open for just a short time. So come learn how to captivate your audience, attract your tribe, and use speaking from the stage physically or virtually to grow your platform exponentially. I know that I can help you become more magnetic, more powerful, and more memorable if you'll let me. To find out more details and view real-life client results, head to commandthestage.com. The training only comes around once a year, so you don't want to miss this. Come to commandthestage.com.
Your day is today. There is no waiting because someday is not promised. Our voices and our words can be gone tomorrow.
You're listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast with Patrice Washington, and you have caught us in a very special week because this is a space where you come every week to learn more about what it means to chase purpose, not money. Every week, I share with you the original definition of wealth, which is the condition of well-being. But let me tell you something I know to be true. We become more well in our lives when we tell the truth about our stories. Many of us are unwell and unable to step into our purpose because we are stuffing down many of the things that have actually made us who we are and given us the heart for why we do what we do and why we desire to serve people the way that we do. And I'm here to help you break free of that during this Give Voice to Truth month. I want you to truly own your voice in the marketplace by being real about how you came to this purpose that you have. And so all week, I'm interviewing amazing graduates of my signature program, Command the Stage, because doors are now open until this Saturday, August 17th. And I want you to hear what a woman sounds like when she owns her story, when she gives voice to truth, and when she allows it to propel her in the marketplace. There is something so unique and beautiful about each and every one of these stories. And today, I'm excited to introduce you to this graduate. Tricia Daniel, a financial clarity advisor with an MBA and over 25 years of experience in finance and accounting, specializes in helping you make your money work for you by drawing on her extensive professional background and her own personal financial journey. As a once single mom, Trisha had to start over twice financially. She overcame significant debt and faced layoffs as an executive, which fueled her passion for guiding women toward financial freedom. Trisha's mission is to help women eliminate debt and build retirement funds that offer lasting financial legacy. In 2021, recognizing the isolation that many women feel when dealing with their money issues, Trisha founded the Starting Over Wealth Network, known as SOWN. This network includes a podcast and a private online community, and she provides women with the support they need to rediscover their identity, replant themselves in rich soil, and thrive both financially and personally. Without further ado, here is Tricia Daniel. Welcome to the Redefining Wealth podcast, Tricia.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to have you. And you know, the first thing I noticed when your camera came on was, I'm like, oh, I see Trisha's Command the Stage certificate. It's right by the MBA. It's on, like, I see what it is.
Absolutely. You told us the story of the certificate you had earned that meant so much to you, that really has propelled you. And that is mine. Your Command the Stage is my reminder of how it's propelled my story is in so many ways. So I keep it up there with a world plaque, little thing to remind you, you can go travel the world now with what I've learned.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Trisha, now my experience of you is that you're a pretty bold woman. I didn't feel like you would be someone who wasn't telling their full story.
I have let shame hold me back from sharing my story. And it's, you know, from hearing like women like, would you tell your truth? You tell your story of being on the bathroom floor. You tell your lowest of lows. I was like, wait, she can say that and that's okay. And wow, look at the difference it's made in people. And so you sharing your truth and hearing other women share their truth, I was like, wait a second. And so slowly that shame just started being whittled away and realizing, wait a second, I can empower other women with my story. But no, I am an introvert. I will hide in a room. I mean, I come natural. We go hide in the hotel. We don't go out and socialize with other people. It's been a hard change for me. But wow, a transformational change. And I feel comfortable telling my story in rooms of women. It's so easy now.
Wow. You know what? I was looking up a quote by Brene Brown, because when you kept saying shame, I was trying to figure out what that quote was. And it's shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we are capable of change. And I know that so many of us desire more for ourselves. Like, we know that we're brilliant enough for our businesses to go to the next level. We know that we have what it takes to build wealth. Maybe we know that we truly have a heart to serve others, but that shame corrodes the part of us that is actually capable of changing. That shame is it is powerful. And the way that it holds us back is mind blowing.
Oh, yes. For 24 years. I mean, I was a financial controller. I'm in public accounting. I've got the title. I've got the experience. I'm not supposed to tell anybody I've been in deep debt. I'm not supposed to tell anybody I've been laid off and I didn't have a backup plan. No one's supposed to know that part. That's shame, and supposed to be all the things with the papers on the wall. No one's supposed to know that you have struggled personally in your own story. Yeah, shame it's a very corroding thing that now I've really become open about. I'm no longer hiding in the back of the room. I'm bringing to the front.
So what is your story? Share some of that with us.
Well, I am Tricia Daniel. I'm a financial clarity advisor because I love giving people clarity in their future financial security. Because while I'm an MBA with over 24 years experience in public accounting as a corporate financial controller, I've also been a single mom who has started over twice financially. I've been a woman who's overcome debt 3 separate times from different life events. And like I said before, I've been a professional executive laid off with no backup plan and no savings. So those feelings of fear and anxiety over my financial security was scary. But gratefully, because of my years' experience and being raised by a financial planner father, I had the tools in place to raise myself up on my own 2 feet each and every time. However, like we said, the shame of my story held me captive for over a decade until April of 2021, when my mother, she fell, severely bruising her knee. And then just 3 weeks later, my sister and I found ourselves by her hospital bedside, sedated, on oxygen, and unable to speak at all. We could not believe we'd never hear our mother's voice again. Until on her last day, a nurse came in, taking the oxygen out of my mom's nose. And slowly her eyes began to open and her voice started struggling to speak. And then at one point she looked over at me and I clearly heard her say, "Promise?" "Yes, Mom, I promise." Because I may not have understood what she was saying. I knew exactly what she meant because my mother was also a woman who let shame hold her back. She always said that someday she was going to write a book about our amazing childhood. She was going to say someday she was going to use her voice to speak and empower other women. She always said someday, someday, someday. And on that Friday evening, her words and her voice were gone. She no longer had her someday. And that's when I realized I don't have someday either, that my someday is today. My someday is today is to share in the opportunity of the tools I used to raise myself up out of each single piece. And I call those steps becoming financially sown. SOWN. With that S, we first find our seeds, our identity, and how we manage our money. And then N is a network, accountability, because who is holding us accountable in our financial plans? Because again, we don't have someday. Our someday is today. And now I go out and share that story with other women to let them know that that shame can no longer have them back because their someday is today too.
I love that. Someday is today. Man, you think about how many of us see the example of watching women that we love or just people that are around us that are constantly putting things off for someday. Someday, as my granny used to say, never worry. Like, never worry is not a month. You're going to have to choose. What do you think waiting for someday to tell your story would have cost you now that you know the power of sharing this story? What would it have cost you?
It would have cost me seeing the impact that my story has, seeing the change in people and them coming to me like, thank you so much. You set me free. I've also been a woman who started over. I've also been a woman of divorce. I didn't know I could go buy a house or be on my own 2 feet. I've also been a woman, and to have them come up and hug me and knowing too, I just want to go up there and hug them like, hey, it's going to be okay. In whatever starting over journey that they're going through, it would have cost me just that chance to know how one sentence or one story can change the direction of someone else's life.
You know, I have to say that personally, I have been inspired by you. Even hearing you say at Command the Stage that I've had to start over financially twice, just knowing like to be able to touch someone. And that's the thing about the power of story, is because it really connects us to our people. And so while maybe when I first met you a couple years ago, I didn't know that about you, but I also didn't know that I would become your demographic. I would become a woman who needed to start over. And so because I've heard you more recently become more transparent about your story, it does make me feel like if Trisha did it, I can do it.
Yeah. And I received that because I was so ashamed to tell people I started over twice. You know, when you have to say that you've been divorced, and then a second time, I have 2 children from 2 different relationships. It's something you feel shame, but now I'm like, no, wow. It's helping another woman know that they're not isolated, because you do feel isolated. I isolated myself after my divorce for 6 months, not talking to a soul. So no, I love when I see, women like you come out there and just talk about it, and in a positive way, an empowering way, that just doesn't have to be a shameful thing. This is, I'm finding out who I am again. And this is my identity. And this is my strength. And you can also do it too. It just empowers so many women around you, because it's been amazing. People come and go, thank you. I've also started over twice, and I didn't want anybody to know, but you're letting me know it's okay.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the wonderful things about Command the Stage, is that we also learn how to tell our stories as a victor and not a victim.
Yes. Yes.
So it's not this like, woe is me. Look what happened. Look at what I've done. It's like, even the way you say it, I've started over twice. It's like, oh, okay, we know what that means. But right? It's not a matter of like, ooh, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but nothing in me feels like, ooh, what was she doing? All the stories that we tell ourselves that people are going to say, or how they're going to react, or what they're going to think about, it's really rooted in how you present it.
Exactly. That's been my biggest thing, by transforming my words and seeing a more positive reaction, because that fills me up with joy. When someone has a positive reaction to me, I mean, that lifts me up. I mean, whenever someone goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, my skin just wants to crawl. I mean, it's because I'm like, listen, I'm good. I'm fine. I've got a roof over my head. I've got food on my table. I can go down my gratitude list. I'm great. And look what this has done. And look at, my children are thriving and I am thriving. So yes, it is all in the way you presented it. And it's taken time. It has taken time for me to use that language, since I allowed shame to hold that back. But now that I realize the impact, it's incredible.
So moving forward, now that you can look at whatever life throws at you through that lens, how do you feel about, even as this financial professional, and you got an MBA, and that finance background makes people feel like you should be so serious and so buttoned up and like all the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you look at vulnerability now as you move forward? Because we don't know what's coming in life. Do you feel like you are someone who would look for the lesson and be willing to share the lesson now that you know how to do it with grace?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm proof of it right now. I recently got remarried after 15 years. Yay. Just 3 months ago. But 1 month after our wedding, my husband has a spinal injury. The sac in his spine collapsed. He's in pain. He can't move. He lost his job. He can't work. And so before, everyone's, oh, I'm so sorry. And I go, no, this is showing me that I need to help other people to be financially secure. So in case something comes at you, if you are not prepared, because you never know in life what may happen, to help empower people to feel financially secure in their savings and cash values, they're ready to go. So in life, those are this curveball when suddenly you're unable to work and there's no money coming in because there's no program that's going to save you. You've got to save yourself. And so no, right now I'm living testimony and being able to transfer something that, you're finally married after 15 years. No. Guess what? God's given us a gift of now being able to share our stories. So every month on our anniversary, I now post a story of our journey and how we are going through this, because we were just newly married. We hadn't got everything settled yet. But you know what? There's a bigger plan in this. So yeah, right now I'm living testimony of how to take something that's hard and turning it into an empowering and impactful story.
Oh my gosh. Now, Trisha, I did not even know that, but I love that. Again, it's the words that you use. It's the energy that you present, right? It's the way that you frame it. It's the lens at which you look at it.
Yeah.
And when we stand in that so powerfully, other people can't help but go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right? And
yeah. You see the reaction.
You see it, right?
Yeah.
As more and more people are learning that I'm divorced, when they go, oh, and I'm like, no, don't. No. Right? As I learned from Glennon Doyle's book, Untamed, she says that Elizabeth Gilbert taught her that liberation is not one-sided. And so that's something that I share with people when they're like, I'm like, no, liberation is not one-sided. I believe that this experience is going to be a blessing for my ex-husband as well. I believe that this is an opportunity for him to get to know God like he never has. And I'm going deeper in my faith. And my daughter actually went to a church event and said she experienced the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit for the first time, and decided that she wanted to be baptized on her own at 15 years old. I believe that this experience has liberated my family, us to be a family in a new light and in a different way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're still going to co-parent well and do all those things. And so how we choose to experience life and how we choose to communicate that experience with others, it makes a difference. Because if you walk into everything with a woe is me and telling stories from a place of victimhood, that is going to be your experience.
Yeah, that's going to be your story. You are going to be that victim instead of seeing the power, like you talk about, just being that valley and be able to see the power that's coming out of your story and transforming your children. I can't tell you the amazing relationship I have with both my son's dads, and people don't even realize because we amazingly co-parent. I've got two kids and now I've got 4 boys as stepchildren. And it's amazing. I have an amazing relationship there. It's amazing how you can take something and be able to be like, wow. And it's impacting everyone else around us when they're hearing not only the stories before, but the stories now of this, blended family come together. But each one of the children now seeing the difference in their lives because of these decisions that most people would take as, oh, I'm so sorry. And it's like, no, look what's happening because of it.
Oh, I love it. Are you an aspiring speaker ready to command the stage? I'm hosting my 6-week training created for the next generation of transformational speakers. That means you desire to confidently communicate the message that you've been called to share with the masses in a way that will move them to shift something in their lives immediately. If you're not scared to get in front of an audience, but your delivery hasn't made people clamor to get to you or work with you, then there's something missing. And I bet that we can pinpoint exactly what it is in this one-of-a-kind training. Doors are now open for just a short time. So come learn how to captivate your audience, attract your tribe, and use speaking from the stage physically or virtually to grow your platform exponentially. I know that I can help you become more magnetic, more powerful, and more memorable if you'll let me. To find out more details and view real-life client results, head to commandthestage.com. The training only comes around once a year, so you don't want to miss this. Come to commandthestage.com. So, Tricia, what would you say your expectation for Command the Stage was coming in, and what did you actually get?
When I first came in, I just wanted the speech. I just want to be able to structure the speech, to be able to practice my voice. Like, how do I get a story that just hooks people in? Like, that was all it was. It was about the other people. It was about the audience. But no, it became about me. It became deeply about me. When I started working not only with every lesson that you gave us, but the community of Command the Stage. And we would get in these rooms, we would all share our stories, and you would hear the impact of other people's stories. And then that would change how you were telling your story. It transformed me, not an audience. It was me. And how I now, the story is impacting my life still each and every time I tell it, because it's never the same, because my audience or people around me are never the same. But the family I gained from Command the Stage and the transformation from everyone around us, I've lost for words for it, because it has been such a change in my life and such an impact in my life.
I love it. So before we started recording, you were telling me that someone asked you if you had a speechwriter.
Yes. On my very last speech, like a couple hours later, oh my gosh, this lady was a speaker. She's a very seasoned speaker. And she's like, that was so good. Did you have a speechwriter? I just smiled.
I know that's right.
I said, I'm a graduate of Command the Stage by Patrice Washington. And just being able to tell her the method that your signature method that you walked us through. And I talked for probably a good hour because I was just so excited. But yeah, did you have a speechwriter? I'm like, mm-mm.
And you know what I really enjoy about what you guys take away from Command the Stage is understanding that you don't have to have it all scripted out, because I feel like that takes away from the emotion and from the realness of it. Because every time you speak, the audience is different. And there's something just different in your spirit that you get to honor in those moments, instead of being so attached to like, I have to say these words in this way with this inflection every single time. I'm like, no.
And that used to blow my mind when you used to say that. It's like, you would say you're on your way to an event and someone would say, hey, do you know what you're going to talk about? No. And they would be floored. And I'm over here going, what? I mean, I'm floored. But then after the Command the Stage, I understood, because I had someone come, hey, could you come up here and speak real quick? Last minute. Sure. Because I had the framework in place. I had already scaled the audience. I already knew kind of what they were like. Okay. So with the framework, I was able to go up and speak and know, okay, I can tell an extra story here. Oh no, they need to hear a little bit more about this. I have the framework in place. I can go speak anywhere without a script. And now I understand. Every time you would tell that, but I was just like, now I'm like, no, I know I know. And I can do it too now. I love it.
So I saw Trisha at Women's Real Estate Investing Network. We were in like the Dallas area earlier this year. And I spoke on both stages. I spoke in the big conference center. And then I also spoke to Teresa students, so like 1,000 students in another room. 2 totally different talks, which was so funny because I was meeting people where like their daughters or people who came with them were in the arena, but they were in the, the student side. And so a couple ladies come up to me and they're comparing notes and they're like, you didn't say the same thing over there, over here. I was like, no, like, oh, well, how did you do that? Because I literally got off that big stage and maybe 40 minutes later, I was on the other stage. And the sentiments were the same, but the talk was not the same. And I remember earlier that day, some of our friends that we have in common, they're like, what are you doing? You're not practicing? And I'm like, I I can see it in my mind first. Like I can visualize being on the stage and all of those things. But even before I got on the big stage in the conference center, I completely changed anything that I even thought I might say. Like I literally had a download and I was like,
see, I love that it's the download. You're able to go with the download you're given because you already had the framework in place. Because I was sitting there when you were sitting there, I don't have anything. I'm not rehearsing. I just smiled because I knew. I was going to say, I knew.
You were like, I know what's going on here.
Yeah. I'm not even going to say.
But the thing is, too, I still get nervous. Like, I still get nerves. I just don't express it in the same way. Mm-hmm. And my nerves come from, God, I just want to serve. I want people to get it. My nerves are not from, well, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to... It's not that. It's like, I really want to do a good job and I want people to see you. That's where it comes from.
Yes.
But mine doesn't manifest as like pacing. It's not that.
No, it's not that. But
I can't ever practice on stage when they're like, well, do you want to come practice? I'm like, no, because that's not going to be anything that I actually say. I don't have a talk to practice.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. It's just not that anxiety of, wait, am I going to say it? It's just allowing God to speak through us.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. Because I'm one of those too. I would have full anxiety if it was scripted. But being able to allow just God to speak through me in that moment. And the last speeches I've given, that's the same prayer. Just God, speak through me. What do you want me to say today? And it's amazing when it just flows out and you just allow, the Holy Spirit to fill you and speak it how he wants to be spoken. Because there's somebody in that room that needs that specific message.
Yes. And that's why we can't be so committed to, I have to say these things. I tell you guys all the time, I'll get up and use an example I've never even heard myself use before. And it never fails. 2-3 people will come up to me and say, that was for me. That was for me. Yeah. And I think that's the thing we have to really lock in on is that, yes, we may have been invited, but this opportunity is not about you. You are there to be of service. And there is someone in that audience who maybe wasn't even sleeping last night. And I always tell you guys this too. People don't usually come for me. On many of the tickets that I'm on, I am the underdog, right? Like I am the person that people haven't heard of. There are huge names with big followings and all this stuff. But at the end, I end up being the person that people follow around, stalk in the bathroom, longest line for pictures and all that, right? Because I'm not committed to a PowerPoint or to saying this like, oh, I have to say this. It's literally allowing the Spirit to move through that framework. Now, the framework is still important.
Yes.
But it's like, what is my spirit saying? And now that I have a framework, I don't have to have the same level of anxiety or all the stuff that comes along with it. I just love it. I love that this is what I get to do.
Oh, yeah. And I love that you followed the download to do this because I still remember you being in the car.
Yeah.
I got this download. And I was determined. You're first to command the stage. I was like, oh, I've got it too. I've got it. But I wasn't ready yet. I knew there was reasons why there's some other things in the way where I couldn't do the first command the stage, the second, because I had been on that waiting list. I just knew it, but I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't in a place. And wow, what perfect timing that God put me in the room for the winter cohorts of 22, because my spirit was ready. My anxiety was down. My story, I was able to tell it because the shame walls had started coming down and it was time to share and I could see the impact of it. So no, I thank you for your obedience. I've told you this before. Thank you for your obedience to the download because a lot of us ignore I don't know what they're talking about. And he did because now, you get to do this to teach others this amazing framework that each of us are now able to use and to tell our stories to an audience of one or audiences of thousands.
Yes. Oh, thank you for mentioning that this was indeed started as just a download. And here we are with hundreds of graduates later and so many of you out there just being a blessing, just being such a blessing in the marketplace. Can I be honest with you? I really don't believe anything changes in those pillars until you are willing to take radical action. And sometimes that means you have to get out of the comfort zone that is your house right now. I want to invite you to Redefining Wealth Live. Take radical action and come and join me live in person, October 6th through 8th, because this is going to be a transformative experience like no other. This is not a business conference, so we're not loading this with all the how-tos and to-dos and just strategy. This is about your soul. Redefining Wealth Live is a vibrant gathering of spirit-led, like-hearted purpose chasers who come together to awaken, redefine, and actualize wealth in every area of their lives. The goal is to move you from autopilot to authenticity. So I want you to picture yourself leaving, not just inspired, but transformed. In our deeply connected community, we go beyond talking. We collaborate, we apply actionable insights, we work on our scripts, we get in our wisdom circles and really talk about our individual next steps. This is an unparalleled connection. There is clarity and confidence in that room that you want to apply to your life. You need this in order to bring your vision to life. So this is the room you want to be in, October 6th through 8th. I want to invite you to go to redefiningwealthlive.com right now to secure your spot. That's redefiningwealthlive.com right now. And when you do, you'll have access to our next bonus co-created connection call where you can learn from me well before the event and also start to connect with other attendees. You don't want to miss this. redefiningwealthlive.com. So what have you been doing? I've heard you mention a few times, like, oh, I just gave a talk the other day. So what's going on with your speaking and interviews and all that stuff? How has that impacted your business?
Oh, it's been incredible. So after I graduated, I started just going to small conferences and just speaking there. There's some small rooms. The rooms have gone on podcasts. And from there, women start realizing, wait a second. I don't feel financially secure. How do I do this? So now, whether it's working one-on-one, I'm developing a 12-week masterclass for women to join. But the biggest thing right now is teaching. I'm launching my YouTube, going through and teaching more of God's principles and how we can sew them into our money. And it's something I'm very, very passionate about.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's the YouTube show going to be called?
It's on Tricia Daniel, MBA.
Tricia Daniel, MBA. I love it. Okay. So Trisha, we said, no more waiting for someday, right? Mm-mm. No more waiting for someday. What would you say to someone who is waiting for someday?
That their someday is today, to make an impact, not only in their lives, but in the person next to you, the person next door, the lady down the street, the woman that you work with, and for audiences to come, that your day is today. There is no waiting because someday is not promised. Our voices and our words can be gone tomorrow. Today is the day to enroll and lower your shame and share your story, not only with yourself, but with the world.
That was powerful. Your voices could be gone. Our voices could be gone tomorrow. I've had times when I woke up and out of the blue could not talk. And as someone who makes a living speaking, that is scary.
Yes.
Right? Like, yes. That is really scary. I speak on the podcast and radio and television, and I coach live, command the stage. I actually teach live and all. There's so much that requires my voice.
Yes. And I've learned that too, because I've got a 4 cysts and a nodule in my thyroid. I've had 2 tumors removed from the side of my throat. Everything manifests for me in my throat. And so I've learned, but once I start to release my voice, the nodule and the thyroid cysts have started to diminish. Things like that. Like I can tell if I don't talk, I get a rash. It starts to go away once I start talking. So for me, holding everything back, I needed to release my voice. Everything has been manifesting and it was time to release it. So I've had the same thing where all of a sudden, wait, I can't speak. I've got a raspy voice for all the years of teaching. All of a sudden you wake up and you can't talk. It's like, I've got to release this. I got to release this. So for me, my scars over here are my reminder. I've got to release and it's time to release. There is no more waiting for someday, that our somedays today.
Your someday is today. Oh my gosh. Trisha, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you using your voice and your testimony and being so unapologetic in the way that you share. You definitely are the victor in your story. And I love that you're not allowing anyone to weaponize that, but using it as a blessing, because we need to see the example that we can start over.
Yes.
And we will be fine. And I appreciate you so much. Listen, how can people get in touch with you?
Go to triciadaniel.com, and that's TRICIADANIEL.com, and get on there. I've got an amazing, fun money identity quiz to take. So come join me and let's start.
You need to be using Trisha as a resource. So make sure you go to triciadaniel.com, because if you're looking to start over financially as well, she definitely is the girl, the woman for the job, and she will bless you. Oh, I hope you enjoyed this rebroadcast of Tricia Daniel here on the Redefining Wealth podcast. I have had an opportunity to watch her just for 2 years since completing Command the Stage, just do so much incredible work in the marketplace. I'm always seeing her be featured on different podcasts and interviews and on stages and summits. And I'm just always so proud of her. And it's not just Trisha. There are so many women who have come through Command the Stage who once felt ashamed of their stories and felt like they could not share. But I hope that you heard from Trisha's story. And even if you go follow her right now on social media, where you will see that we don't have to be ashamed of our stories. We get to overcome by our testimony. And the only way that we get to truly be transformational in the space that we are in is to be vulnerable, transparent, and actually lean into the story, not away from it. So I hope you're inspired and that you are considering coming to Command the Stage. The doors are closing soon. We will be kicking off with our welcome party this upcoming Sunday. And so if you want to join us, please come on over to commandthestage.com. This will be our only cohort of 2024. Go to commandthestage.com, learn more, and I hope to see you conquer your own fears around your story and build a legacy around it. Until next time, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever chasing money. I'll talk to you later.